God, what is Social Security?
I honestly have no idea.
I mean, all these politicians keep talking about it, but, who really knows what it is?
I wish we had someone to explain it to us.
Did someone say Social Security? I can explain that.
No way, that's fantastic!
So you want to learn about Social Security, eh? Okay, well, let's get started. Social Security began in 1935 at the height of the Great Depression, during which asset values had plunged, which wiped out the savings of many of the elderly people. One major motivation for the establishment of Social Security was to provide a means of income support for these unfortunate generations of elderly people. The basic operation of the program is pretty straightforward. Workers pay a tax on their earnings, and the money from that tax is deposited into a trust fund that is invested in government bonds. Checks written on this trust fund are paid to those enrolled in Social Security, which is open to pretty much anyone over the age of 62. Checks are paid until the recipient dies, and if there's a surviving spouse, he or she would receive the payment until his or her own death. For the average person on Social Security, benefits are roughly 40% of pre-retirement earnings. For low-income people, however, that can be up to 60%, while for high income, it can be as low as 20%. To be eligible for Social Security, an individual must pay the Social Security tax over 40 quarters of his or her life, which is the equivalent of 10 years, and must be 62 years or older. The Social Security tax mentioned before is based on 6.2% of individual income for payers, with an additional 6.2% earnings taxed to the employer. The result is an overall security tax being 12.4% of an earner's income. This tax, somewhat controversially, only applies to the first $110,100 of earnings, which biases it for wealthy individuals. The total amount of payout from Social Security is based on an individual's average indexed monthly earnings, or AIME for short, and is constituted by the highest 35 consecutive years of earnings. Individuals who work less than 35 years have $0 salaries substituted for the missing years, while those who work more than 35 have their lowest years replaced. True full benefit age begins at 67, while anyone over 62 can choose early retirement. For those choosing the earlier age, income is reduced by 6.67% per year. Conversely, if one waits past the retirement age to claim benefits, individuals are eligible for an 8% per year increase for each year delayed. Yeah, so Social Security is pretty confusing. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, so how does Social Security compare to other pension plans?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's really unique, actually. The U.S. Social Security program is quite unique, and it has traditionally been an unfunded pension plan. For reference, there are two types of plans. The first, which includes all private pension plans, are funded, and that the savings from today are invested in assets like stocks and bonds, and the capital gains pay for the future benefits promised by the pension. Unfunded plans, however, do not invest and rather transfer funds directly from workers today to retirees from today. This is known as a pay-as-you-go system. Because of its pay-as-you-go nature, the U.S. Social Security system is able to redistribute wealth in interesting ways. For example, high-income earners pay more into the system through payroll taxes than low-income earners. Therefore, in a time of high wage, population, and tax growth, the wealthy benefit more from Social Security than lower-income earners. But when Social Security returns are low, high-income earners are worse off than low-income. Females, likewise, earn more benefit from Social Security than males, as they pay the same taxes but receive more benefits as they often live longer. Likewise, married couples who are entitled to 50% of the working spouse's benefits and 100% of the deceased spouse benefits are significantly advantaged over single individuals. Because of this, single earner couples receive 150% of the benefits while paying any additional tax. And this way, Social Security serves as a mechanism for wealth distribution. In its current iteration, the U.S. Social Security system is partially funded. Taxes collected primarily finance benefits for today's retirees, but also pay to a Social Security trust fund, which is invested in U.S. government bonds. This is just a temporary solution to a growing problem, however. Over the next several decades, the baby boom cohort will lead to a significant rise in the ratio of elderly to working age individuals. Because of this, there will be significantly more benefits being spent than taxes captured, and Social Security foresees a significant deficit of at least $8.6 trillion over the next 75 years. There are many proposed solutions to this issue. Some argue that taxes should be changed, benefits reduced, and others say that we should outright abandon our current system. What do you guys think about these issues?
Wow, that was really interesting. I didn't know anything about Social Security before.
Yeah, me neither. It seems like a huge problem. We definitely need to fix it.
Yeah, but with such a large and complex problem, how are we supposed to fix something like that?
I have an idea.
Going off of what Trent said, I also heard that Social Security is a huge issue. For every 35 people above the age of 65, there are 100 people working. This is a huge rise since 1950, when there were 12 people above the age of 65 for every 100 people working. So there are less working people paying for older generation Social Security benefits. And I've heard this is for three main reasons. The first is that life expectancy has gone up. The second is that there's been a reduction in birth rates. So fewer working folk to support increased number of elderly. And the third is that there's been the growth in wages has slowed dramatically. After the year of 2083, Social Security Administration projects that the unfunded obligation of this program to be an additional $11.4 trillion. So we definitely need a reform. And I think I have a good policy. The first thing we could do is raise taxes. If we increase the payroll tax by 2.5% from 12.4% to 14.9%, we could solve the financial issue for the next 75 years. The second thing we could do is extend the base of taxable wages. So we would extend the base of the wage that can be taxed by Social Security to finance retirement benefits, meaning we could increase the number of young people that are contributing in the system. So ultimately, we'll be, on average, charging more in payroll taxes than these people will ultimately expect to collect in benefits. What else we could do is increase the maximum income on which the payroll tax that finances Social Security is paid. In 2012, workers pay the payroll tax on income up to $110,100 per year. Because the system is progressive, such a change would once again improve the finances of the system, both in the short and long term. The third thing we can do is increase the retirement age. People are living longer, so it makes sense that they should work longer as well. The FBA, full benefits age, is simply the point at which individuals are entitled to their full primary insurance amount, their PIA. This is so-called the normal retirement age, but in reality it's no longer normal. In fact, a lot more people retire at the early eligibility age, the EEA. And the EEA determines that age to be 62, where the FBA determines the age to be 66. So let me give an example of how increasing the FBA could produce Social Security cuts. Those retiring at the age of 62 today receive 73% of their PIA. Due to the increase of the FBA, those retiring at the age of 62 in 2025 or later are only going to receive 70% of their PIA. So basically it means that you're getting penalized in benefit cuts when you retire earlier than the age of 66. So we raise the age, we cut benefits.
And that's my idea.
Those are some good points, but don't you think expanding would help more people?
What does that mean?
While many have been advocating to cut Social Security spending, it is important to keep in mind that recently there has been more general support for expanding. Why this support for expanding? Because drivers of the Cut Social Security movement have lost credibility in the past few years, and Social Security is one of the only parts of America's retirement system that is working well. There are two clearly bad arguments for cutting Social Security. One is that we should raise the retirement age because people are living longer. However, the recent calculations and the rise in life expectancy only really take into account wealthy, educated Americans, and ignore the fact that life expectancy has not gone up for lower income citizens. The second bad argument for cutting Social Security is the claim that seniors are doing fine and that the poverty rate is only at 9%. However, there are known flaws with this current poverty rate measure that lead to understatements. The elderly poverty rate is highly likely to rise sharply in the future, largely due to the failure of America's private pension system. In summary, there is a looming retirement crisis approaching, and the only thing that will protect many elderly citizens is maintaining and expanding the Social Security system.
And that's why I think we should expand.
Yeah, I have a better idea. I think we should privatize the whole thing.
Some view retirement savings via the private sector as preferable to Social Security. The idea is that instead of people's payroll deductions being put into the Social Security fund through taxes, they should simply be put into a private bank account that people collect when they retire instead of receiving Social Security payouts. Because, after all, private banks are better and more trustworthy when it comes to managing people's hard-earned money. Perhaps the best argument for using the private sector for retirement savings over Social Security is that private accounts simply have higher yields. Private retirement accounts based in index funds have an average annual return of 6.8%, while Social Security's is only 3%. Furthermore, there's a significant crowd-out effect when it comes to private savings in Social Security. It's estimated that Social Security crowds out 30 to 40 cents on every dollar of private savings. And private accounts also mean, on principle, that the government can't allocate funds elsewhere in the future. So people can sleep better at night knowing that their Social Security money that they've put into the system aren't going to disappear at the hands of dirty politicians. In 2005, President Bush actually proposed moving away from Social Security as a means of retirement savings and transitioning towards private accounts. However, his proposal didn't really gain much traction because the idea of making a social insurance program private isn't politically popular. And furthermore, reform wasn't as big a priority for congressmen on both sides of the aisle because the program is politically popular. And congressmen who are trying to get reelected are less inclined to slash a politically popular program than a term-limited president.
I think my idea is pretty good.
But what about expansion?
No, we should put it all in private bank accounts. They yield a lot more money.
Trent, what do you think?
I don't know. What do you think? It's your future.